Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. I see all the smiley faces. Everybody looks ready and at attention and all excited because we've got an amazing guest on our show. We have a multi-award winning pianist, arranger, composer, music director. Alex Rybeck is with us live and direct from New York City. That's right. We've got some great music, an inspiring chat, and so much more. How's everybody doing today? It's a pleasure to see you guys here. I'm your host, Jim Masters. This is our entertainment lifestyle talk show series that is growing and growing in popularity. And we thank you for that. People watching literally all around the world. I guess they're being inspired, entertained, educated, and just having a good time. And that's perfect because that's what we do here at JMS Live. We want to inspire, entertain, educate. We want to have a good time with conversations with our guests and with all of you. That's right. Comments are happening live right now. And during the live show, you can comment. Feel free. We also have the super chat and super emojis, super stickers. That's a new feature that YouTube's doing during the live show. So feel free to do that. And we'll extra highlight with special colors your comments. And I will personally thank you on the air as well. But if this is your first time watching, we welcome you. We've done about 430 episodes live, just about 7 days a week of our entertainment lifestyle talk show series with guests coming in from Broadway, Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, theater, culinary arts, sports, comedy, inspiration, health and wellness, you name it. We have it here on the show. Lots of variety. Every show is something different and lots of interactivity. That's what we're all about because I'm a very interactive host. In my professional work, I'm a television and radio host, personality, writer, producer, MC, journalist, actor, voiceover artist, all those fun things, and been doing it a long time. And we created this show in the evenings to entertain you even more. That's right. Which bottom line means I never sleep. And we've been doing it again 7 days a week, 430 episodes live. And this isn't even my day job in television and radio, but I love it. And I love all of you. Let's check in with everybody. Of course, we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. This is like a talk show that you would see on TV, that sort of flavor, that sort of style with interaction with our viewers, great guests, and so much more. We say hello to all the Lovities. That's right. The viewers call themselves the Lovities, part of our Lovity squad. They call me Mr. Lovity. We'd love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and share the channel. The channel is the one you're watching right now. It's Jim Masters TV. And be sure, if you want to know when our guests are appearing and when our episodes are on, when we have the celebrity guests, when we have viewer interaction, host chat shows and pop-up shows and on-location shows, make sure you see that little bell icon next to the word subscribe. Make sure you click that. That's how you get alerted to when we have the episodes coming up and who's going to be on the show and what we're going to be doing. So make sure you click that bell. And while you're there, we would love it if you do leave a comment on the actual YouTube channel itself right underneath this episode and click that thumbs up. You see that little thumbs up there? That's that like button. If you're enjoying this episode and any of our episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. Again, during the show, you can also chat live. You can chat post-show in the archives. You can also chat live. And post-show would be the comments on the page. And during the show, it would be the actual live chat, which many of you are doing that right now. And you can check out all those super stickers and all those cool features that are new. And again, today on the show, we do welcome Alex Rybeck. He's going to join us in just a second. First, let's say hello to some of our viewers and Lovities watching the Jim Masters Show live. Hello to Juanita. Hello, Jim and Lovity Squad. She is watching, as she always does, live from South Africa. She's one of our true Lovities as well. So is Alessandra. Hi there, Jim and Lovity family. Good to see you there in North Carolina. Great to have you back. You're here just about every day now, and we love it. First, you were a viewer on our YouTube channel, and then you wanted to know when we did the shows live, because there is something special about live. And now you're with us live every night, too, which I think is very, very cool. Maureen is in Arizona, and she just got home. She goes, hello and happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm excited for tonight's show. Should be amazing. Perhaps a world premiere number from Alex as well. Well, you're actually going to hear several world premieres because we were gifted with unreleased material. So material that isn't floating around there that Alex has penned and created. So we've got some exclusives here coming up tonight on the show. And I love it. And Alessandra says she's excited. I'm so excited. Remember, we had the Pointer Sisters on the show, Ruth and Anita. You can see that episode on our show as well. Hi, Jim and Lovities. Good to see you as well. Joan is here. And nice to see you, Joan. Merlin's watching in Ontario, Canada. Welcome, Merlin. It's great to have you here as well. Everybody says hello to everybody. I love that too, the back and forth that goes on, which is really, really nice. Mary Bishop is in Pine Island, Florida. Hello, Jim and all the Lovities. Good to see you, Mary. Love it. And really, really nice stuff. Look at all these comments that are pouring in here. Everybody's chatting with everybody. This one's chatting with this one. And that theme song, well, I know, you know, our theme song to the Jim Masters Show Live, our intro and outro music. I saw Alex, and I saw him bopping back and forth. Now, he's a pianist, a composer, award-winning, arranger, and he was bebopping back and forth in his home studio there to our theme song. A lot of our guests do when they hear it come on. They're like, "Ooh, I like do 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 do." Puts you in a good mood, right? It gives you a good sense of what you're going to experience coming up. I know you guys love it as well. We're going to be changing some things with our open and close. Matter of fact, we were just working on that with some cool people, animators and stuff today that we're going to be changing. But the theme music, I know you guys love so much, so we're not going to toy with that quite yet. We've only had it a year anyway, and it's so identified with the show. That theme song just puts a smile on my face because I know it's time for some levity. See what I mean? Maureen says that in Arizona. Kathleen in New York City says, "Hey, Jim, hope it was a good day." Hi, everyone. Still going at it. It's still a great day, and I hope it is for you, Kathleen. Alessandra says, "Levity is needed today." So you're going to get that from our show here. And Joan Sandoz says, "Lovities, I'm so lucky to have found Jim and these wonderful guests. I found all of you because I'm a Celtic Thunder fan. I found a wonderful community. So thank you, Jim, for a wonderful idea." My pleasure. My pleasure. And hello, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful day. Anne is in Southern California. Beautiful day here. And hopefully it's a little cooler where you are in Southern California. Jane says, "I love that theme song, the Jim Masters Show Live theme song." Thank you very much. And we went through great pains when we were selecting that customized music for the show. Put my TV hat on and I said, what would give a good feel for the theme of the show? And I think it matches it. Hello, Jim and all Lovities. Good to see you as well. And Jane, who loves our theme, is watching in Sweden, as she always does. And she says hello to everybody as well. So again, I hope everybody's doing well. Of course, we always toast you. Yes, we've got our fancy martini glass. We toast you. Chin chin, cheers, sláinte. Looks nice, right? Looks expensive. Like a $20 glass of something I've got in here, right? It isn't. It's Trader Joe's cranberry juice. Same as it was last night. Trader Joe's cranberry juice. And boy, is it refreshing because the heat outside is returning. And very first time that we have our special guest, Alex, and won't be the last. We'll definitely have him back on the show as well. Again, he's a brilliant music industry professional. He's been doing this a long time. He loves what he does. He was born in Ohio, actually, in Dayton. And his father, Walter, journalist and economist, and his mother, a housewife, born in Vienna, Austria. That's where my Aunt Dorothy actually hails from, and they live in Massachusetts. His mom was born in Vienna, beautiful area, of course, of Europe. Refugee from the Holocaust, was raised in a convent in Aberdeen, Scotland. He has an older brother, Rick, as well. His father played piano. We'll talk about all that. We'll discuss the background and all, and how he got started and some of the incredible things. He wrote a complete score inspired by the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at around age 10. The movie Willy Wonka, of course, wasn't out yet, but its planned release put an end to his version going anywhere. I have a friend who writes screenplays and he keeps them in his drawer, and then the movie comes out and he's like, why didn't I submit that? His work is extraordinary. Motown, top 40 of the 60s and 70s, Bacharach, David Warwick, Bacharach, Hal David, Dionne Warwick, movie music, Broadway cast albums, Viennese operas, in addition to classical music. These are all the influences that his parents were really listening to. We're so excited to have him here. His bio is extraordinary. Rather than read it or any of that, I'm going to have him come on and we're going to chat about his experience. He's live in New York City. Why don't we welcome Alex Rybeck to the show? Alex, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm just great. So good to see you and be here.
All the lovities are here in full force. Sherry Larson says, hello, everybody. She's welcoming you. Juanita in South Africa says, welcome to the show, Alex. Merlin in Ontario, welcome, Alex. Mary in Florida, hello, Alex, and welcome. Jane in Sweden, hello and welcome, Alex, to the Lovity family. Now you're one of us. You're now a Lovity. And I say that to all the guests. I say, you know, there's Oscars, Emmys, Tonys, Grammys, Peabodys, Tellys, all these awards. But when you get dubbed a Lovity on the Jim Masters Show Live, it's pretty cool. Are your feet tingling right now?
This is actually kind of, I hope this is not too like woo-woo, spiritual, whatever. I just lost my dad a couple months ago.
I know that.
At the age of 96, but he had,
God bless him. Yeah.
When people became close, you know, closer than friends, they became like relatives.
Right.
He would call them, instead of relatives, he would call them lovatives. Now that's pretty close to
Lovity, yeah.
To lovities. So
yes, so lovative is like relatives, love,
I feel
and
like
relative.
I feel like my dad's sort of, his
channeling.
spirit is here. Yes, like he's
so
part
love
of
it.
this.
So lovatives is great too, because lovatives is like taking the word love and taking the word relative and making them feel like family. So they're lovatives, and we are lovatees, which is love and levity.
That works.
That became Lovity, and it slipped out of my mouth last year. And then everybody said, well, Jim, it wasn't by accident. It was
out of the mouths of babes.
It was, yes.
You're a babe.
And Maureen says, I'm so very sorry for your loss, Alex, sending tight hugs. How are you doing? I mean, obviously.
Still processing.
Yeah.
I still have to kind of remind myself at this point that he's gone because it's still so fresh. So actually, my brother and I just posted, we had a celebration of his life type of service a couple weekends ago at the retirement community where my mom still lives. And there was a lot of music involved and a lot of beautiful eulogies. And we just posted it on YouTube. So anyone who can find me on Facebook the YouTube link is on my Facebook page. And they can
How's your mom doing?
attend. Not great, to be real honest. It's
married many years too.
They were married over 60. I think close to 67 years. I think this fall would have been their 67th anniversary.
God bless them both for the longevity.
Yeah. You know? They were lovebirds to the end. You know, over the last few years, he'd sit on the end of the couch. He'd be in a recliner next to him, and they'd be holding hands, and they would nod off. He'd be reading the paper and nod off. Right. She'd be nodding off, but they'd be holding hands. You know.
Do you find that you're doing that occasionally now these days too? You sit on the couch and all of a sudden you nod off and like, wait a minute, that's something my dad or grandfather would do, and we would tease them when they would do it. And now you realize you're doing it.
I do believe in naps. I have very weird hours, which is probably true of a lot of people who are in the performing
in all of these
arts.
industries.
You know, you travel at weird hours, you perform and eat at strange hours.
Yes.
And I'm lucky. I can kind of when I'm tired, I can fall asleep pretty much standing up.
Can you really?
And as soon as I get on an airplane, I'm out. As soon as the engines start, it almost acts as like a narcotic or something. I just like.
Do you like white noise? Does like a fan or something in the background? If you hear like
I don't need it.
You don't even need that.
If I'm ready to sleep, I just sleep. I'm very lucky that way. Some of the people that I work with, have the opposite problem. They can only sleep in their own beds at home, and of course, if they're on the road all the time, then that just doesn't work out too well. But
my mother's oldest sister Gertrude would always say that she actually slept better when she wasn't home. She would sleep better when over at relatives' houses or at a hotel. And I can understand that, because when we go away to hotels and we go to visit family, I actually sometimes do sleep better like my Aunt Gertie, and I think I can understand. I think it's because sometimes, even though you may have your beautiful bed and your comfortable room, and again, it depends, but I think it's because you've left all of the worry and responsibility home, all the domestic stuff you have to do at home, all of the things that need tending to, and when you are at the hotel or when you are away with family and you're in the guest room or wherever you are, you're not taking that with you, and sometimes get a pretty good darn sleep. So we're headed to Florida to see family in a couple of weeks, and I want to sleep.
And some of those hotel beds are really comfortable too.
Yes.
They've really good. If you're staying in a nice hotel,
well, if you're going to mom's and dad's, the
the air mattress maybe isn't quite the same level of comfort. But
I want to show you just if it makes you feel good at all. Our friend Ralph, of course, my heart is with you, Alex, and Alessandra. So sorry for your loss. Joan, so sorry for your loss. I don't know if you were told, this is a show that's filled with a lot of levity here.
I feel it. I didn't want to bring anybody. I didn't.
To
bring anybody down. It was just
it's a family. It's a family atmosphere where if guests express something or they share something, about their lives and their authenticity, the viewers, because I like to have a show where there is interaction, they have expressed even things that have happened in their own lives, and everybody sort of comes and rallies around. So the show we do is really, with all the entertainment and conversations, it's got this unique flavor to it that is very special. You don't really see it a lot of this out there. It's sort of old school in that way. Jane in Sweden sends you love. So does Juanita in South Africa, Mary in Florida. It's Alessandra in North Carolina.
It's very, very sweet.
So we're lifting you up.
Yes, over the past year and a half, we've all experienced loss on many levels, in many different ways.
Yes,
so,
right.
I think a lot of people are trying to push through what we're going through.
As you know, more than anybody, music can really be healing. And a lot of people, when the times are not so good and the chips are down and there's loss or fear or whatever, they turn to music. And this past year, they've really been turning to music, a lot of nostalgic music as well, as much as they've been watching, the nostalgic TV shows and the movies and hearkening back to childhood memories and, baking the bread and doing all these things. And music really can get you through some really emotional times. So here you are, creator of music. Do you turn to it for solace and comfort as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And isn't it interesting that we were not considered essential workers?
I know. That's a little crazy, huh?
But I think we do supply an essential service, but we're not recognized as essential workers. And it was pretty brutal to watch overnight, a whole year's calendar of work just go away, and the whole industry went away. So
the whole thing stopped.
That was brutal, and at that time, without any sense of is it coming back, and if so, when, and not really being able to plan anything. And even now, it's kind of come roaring back, as we were saying just before we went on camera. As of a few weeks ago, it seems like a lot of the stuff that was canceled is now coming back with a vengeance. And at the same time, you listen to the news and you hear what's going on in the world. It all still feels very tenuous. I just came back from a weekend. One of the people I work with a lot is Liz Calloway, who probably is a familiar name to a lot of your viewers.
Anne was on the show, her sister Anne,
Sure. And so now, again, some of those concerts and gigs that we had last year that were canceled are now being rebooked. So Liz and I were in Indianapolis, actually in Carmel, Indiana, this past weekend. And we were just discussing that, we have to really savor our moment now on these stages, because next week we could hear that it's all closed down again.
With that Delta variant and
so many people still unvaccinated. So it's still it's scary still, very scary.
Right. It's going in the wrong direction right now again. Right. Exactly. And they are talking about, masks again. I know that it's recommending masks for the kids in the schools. So fingers crossed, we're set on this end. We've done what we've double vaxxed. We did the masks, social distancing, all those things. We have tons of the lotion and I still use it and didn't get sick at all last year. Knock on wood. Didn't get a cold, didn't get flu. Usually I get like a sinus infection around January for some reason. Didn't get it. There was no parties, gatherings. There was no handshaking, hugging. So, but, I know we're all craving all of that, returning to that. We just got to be wise. And so for you, you mentioned that the world came to a halt back in March, and so many people who have passed through the Jim Masters Show live here have been expressing that from all different backgrounds, whether they're performers or not. What were some of the things that you were working on that came to a pause? And I know a lot of people have expressed, Jim, 2020, I worked so hard to get to 2020, and 2020 was going to be the year for me for whatever it was they were planning to do. And some even expressed during our conversations and were very open about anxiety and some depression and feeling very detached with the world because they weren't able to express themselves through their work. So how about you, when that call came or when you realized things were going to pause, what was happening in your world and what stopped?
I can tell you exactly. Again, Liz Calloway and we were booked in San Francisco, the Nico Hotel, Feinstein's at the Nico for a weekend. And we were both flying out on a Thursday. We were going to do shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And from the beginning of that week, we were calling the room in San Francisco every day just to be sure, because things were starting to close down. Certain events, certain stadium things. There were certain things that were being shut down, and so we kept calling on a daily basis. Is it still happening? Do you still want us to come out? Oh yes, they kept saying it's happening. We're expecting you. It's all good. Thursday rolls around. That morning, Liz calls again. Oh yes, we're expecting you. Liz gets on her flight. We were flying separately, so she was on a 1 o'clock flight in the afternoon. I was flying a few hours later out of Newark. And Liz, just as she was getting on her plane, she called me. She said, Alex, I know this is crazy and overkill, but she said, before you leave your apartment, she said, I think you should call the room one more time and just double check. She took off. I'm packing. And that afternoon, this is March 12th last year, the mayor of New York, de Blasio, is talking about Broadway shutting down, that he's shutting down Broadway. So it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm getting ready to leave my apartment. And I remember Liz's admonition that I should call San Francisco. So I called the room and I say, I know this is a little crazy and I don't want to be paranoid. I'm just calling to double check that we're still doing our shows. And to my shock, the manager of the room said, actually, I've just canceled the shows. And I said, are you aware that Liz is already in the air?
She's on her way.
And he said, yes. I said, well, why did you just make that decision? He said, I was waiting to see what New York was going to do. Yeah. And that was, a surprise. But there were a lot of places around the country that were taking their cue from Broadway. Who knew? Right. So I said, well, did you call our musicians? Because Liz and I had hired local musicians in San Francisco. And the room manager said, no, I haven't told them yet. I said, okay, let me get on the stick and let them know. And I hung up. And of course, I was wondering, like, at what point was he going to call me and let me know? Because 5 minutes later, I would have been in a cab on my way to Newark. And I would have been in the air for nothing. So I let the musicians in San Francisco know that, shows ain't happening and hopefully we'll get rebooked. It's down the road. And they understood the situation. And then my phone lit up and it was, you mentioned Ann Hampton Calloway. So it was Ann calling to wish me a happy flight and to remember to take sanitary wipes. And So I answered, I said, Anne, actually, our shows have been canceled and your sister and her husband are already on their way. They're in their plane already. And Anne said, well, you know, she said, sometimes Liz gets on Wi-Fi when she travels. She said, I'm going to see if I can reach her and let her know. Well, in fact, Anne was able to reach Liz and told Liz, who was mid-flight, you know, there's not going to be any work for you when you get off that plane. Liz immediately went on to Facebook. As I happen to be scrolling on Facebook, I see Liz has already posted an apology to her fans in San Francisco. And then, and I thought this was just a playful question, she said, now that I know that there's no shows, she said, but the fact that my husband Dan and I are going to be landing there in a few hours, what do you think we should do? Should we just turn around and go home, or should we get off and get off the plane and treat ourselves to a dinner in a nice restaurant in San Francisco and stay overnight in the beautiful Hotel Nico and come back the next day? And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, what a silly question. Of course you should, treat yourself to a night on the town. And her husband had never been to San Francisco, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. To my amazement, comment after comment, and there were like already 200 comments, people saying, turn around, don't get off the plane, just turn around and go home. And I'm thinking, well, that seems awfully weird. And then one of the commenting people said, they're shutting down the airports. If you leave the airport, you might not be able to get back in and you might not get home. And so it was very lucky. Whether Liz was just being playful in asking that or whether she was serious, it turned out to be a very lucky thing that she put it out there, and that people responded in a serious manner and let her know that, if you get off the plane and get out of the air, if you not get off the plane, but if you leave the airport, you might not be able to return home. So knowing that, she and her husband, when they did deplane, they went right to the reservation desk, immediately booked themselves on the red-eye back. They had dinner in the terminal, and 7 hours back to the East Coast, and then we're quarantined for the next 8 months, whatever it's been. So that was anyway. 2 weekends ago, Liz and I were in San Francisco. We got rebooked 2 weeks ago.
Terrific.
And we were able to fulfill the gig that we had been prevented from doing, and we got our musicians back together, and the shows went great. And it was very emotional. It was the first time that Liz and I were performing together again in front of live people. Yeah. And it was very heartwarming, I think, on both sides of, on stage and in the audience.
Were you also doing a lot of writing? Were you writing music, preparing, creating things on your own during that time?
During the quarantine, yes. I have been fairly productive as far as writing some new music, and I'm working with several different collaborators at the moment, and I feel very blessed. They keep sending me lyrics, and I've gotten a little behind now. I have to catch up. There are a number of lyrics that are sitting here saying, well,
what about me? What about me?
What about me? Exactly.
That's right. Got the words, just need the notes, right? Yeah.
That's right. True.
That is funny. So busy throughout, even though things were closing.
Yeah. Well, I think I was in shock for about 3 months, literally. Like through most of that first summer, I think I was just kind of in a state of shock.
Yeah.
And was not particularly productive.
Right.
And
I think most people, was like, okay, what's happening here? And plus a lot of people thought it was going to be over by August, or July. Okay, it's going for a month or two, but we'll get past this. And then when it started going into the fall and then the winter, it really had an impact on so many people in such long-lasting ways, not just economically, but emotionally too. There's, it's like we've been, I use the analogy of Rip Van Winkle. It's like we've been Rip Van Winkle, and now we're sort of waking up and getting reacclimated to each other and to society and to the changes that have happened. And some people, it's taking time to get reacquainted with life all over again.
Oh, a friend of mine who has kids made the a remarkable, to me, remarkable statement that his, I guess, daughter, who's, very, she's a toddler. He said, so all she really remembers at this point is people with masks.
Yeah.
And now that people are starting to take them off, that's kind of freaking this child out. There are people that were born during this, or were,
thinking that
sort of
we are
coming of age during this time, that this was their normal. So now that we're coming, in some ways, moving out of the pandemic, that for them is more traumatic. That's the trauma. Yeah, it's like the people taking off their masks, and hugging, and all of that stuff.
Reminds me of that Twilight Zone. Remember the Twilight Zone where the woman was wrapped in the bandages for the longest time, and they kept talking about how, because of her look with the bandages on and everything, she wasn't going to be able to acclimate to the society. So they never show the doctors and nurses' faces, just the shadowy silhouetted images of them. But then towards the end, when they unwrap the bandages, she looks like Marilyn Monroe, and they are scary looking with weird faces.
Like aliens, yes.
And it's the reverse. She was considered the one who was not attractive. And a great statement on how, society treats one another, and during times like this, it's come together time. As I'm a unifier.
That's another topic that touches on my dad, because he went to college with Rod Serling.
Rod Serling.
They were at Antioch College at the same time.
I've said that I think there's only 3 people that could have scripted, the last 14, 15 months. And one would have been Rod Serling, Stephen King, or Steven Spielberg. They would have thought of something like this, and it would have been a movie that ended in 2.5 hours as opposed to 14 months. But so things are opening up. But let's go back a little further. Dayton, Ohio, Midwest boy. Some of these early influences for you to want to go into music specifically and the arts. Tell us about those influences.
Yeah, I don't have too many memories of Dayton because we left when I was 4.5. So don't have too many memories of Dayton itself.
Have you gone back?
No, I've never been back.
Been back to Dayton.
I've been in that area. I went to college at Oberlin, which is not that far. And,
not far, yeah.
I've certainly performed in places like Springfield and areas that are near to Dayton, but I've never actually been back to Dayton. But I've seen the signs along the highway.
Dayton.
Dayton.
So from Dayton, you guys had moved when you were 4?
But yeah, we moved on to the Washington area. But even when we were in Dayton, one of the things I do, probably one of my earliest memories, is my dad playing piano, because he was a very good pianist. It was never his profession, but he played at a professional level and loved to play for his enjoyment and other people's enjoyment. And when I was a little kid, I just gravitated toward that. Anytime he was playing piano, I was just mesmerized.
Yeah.
And as soon as I could reach the keys, I started to plunk out tunes. And I was just desperate to want to make music on that thing the way that Dad did. So he was like my first musical influence. And my mom singing around the house. She had a lovely singing voice. And so that they were both into music, and they listened exclusively to classical music.
Right.
The radio was always on the classical station. This, like when we moved to Washington, D.C., there's a very good classical station there, WGMS. Mm-hmm. And that's exclusively what they listened to. And because it was their radio, I never touched it. I wasn't supposed to, that was their thing. But that was, adults, kids weren't supposed to touch that. So they would, turn it on, and classical music came out of it. Well, as a little kid, I thought that's the only thing that came out of a radio was, you turned it on and classic. I didn't know there were other kinds of music until one night a babysitter came over and my parents left. The babysitter turns on the radio. She hears this classical symphonic stuff. She doesn't want to listen to that.
What's that?
She turns this magic knob, and suddenly, I was probably about 7 years old at this point. That was my introduction to top 40. circa 1964, Petula Clark singing Downtown.
Yeah.
And it changed my life.
You liked it right away?
I loved it.
Yeah.
And every time that babysitter came by, to babysit for my brother and me, it's like, I want to hear that song. And she said, oh, well, it'll come on. And I thought, well, how does she know it'll come on? Because on the classical station, there was no it was just this continuous. Well, no, it's like, it would be a Beethoven symphony and then followed by whatever. But I didn't understand the idea of top 40, that they repeated the same music every hour. So I was in love with Petula Clark and Downtown. And as soon as it played, it's like, oh, I want to hear that song again. And she was like, oh, just keep listening. It'll come on again. And I was very skeptical, because I thought, well, it might be another week before it comes on. It's like, but sure enough, the next hour there it was. It was the number one song in the country. So
in rotation.
They were playing it all the time. So I had a lot to learn.
Did your parents let you listen to that station occasionally then, or?
Well, I used to sort of be sneaky about it, because I knew that, they only listened to the classical music, and I sort of had a feeling like I wasn't really supposed to listen to this other stuff. And so whenever, like, they'd be out of the house, like if mom went shopping, I would turn. Now I knew that there was that knob. And if I turned the knob, I could listen to Petula Clark and, Dionne Warwick. And, that was another seminal moment. The first time I heard Dionne Warwick's voice, I literally stopped in my tracks. And I was like, who is that? Yeah. And I had no idea who it was. And then about maybe a week later, now this was in the era of the Ed Sullivan Show, right? We're talking, the mid 60s. And then one Sunday night, we're watching Ed Sullivan, and there was Dionne Warwick, and I had the name and the face to put to the voice. That began another lifelong love affair with her music.
God bless that babysitter, huh? That babysitter.
God bless that babysitter.
The reason why I say that is because we had screenwriter, playwright, and TV writer Jamie Pacino on last night. And somehow we got on the conversation of television shows and music and everything. And I brought up Love American Style. Decades Network had a weekend binge weekend where they played episode after episode after episode of that ABC 70s series with all the celebrity guests and everybody that was on it. And she said, my parents wouldn't allow us to watch that, but when the babysitter sat for us, she would have it on and would let us watch Love American Style when we were kids.
It was considered too risque for them or something.
At that time, I guess, the content, adults and couples and marriage and all the rest. And so she said that, and it was the babysitter, just like you, the babysitter that sort of
It's corrupted us.
Introduced her to other worlds. So with all of that, then you decided to pursue it as a career. Tell us about some of that.
Well, it was it was an evolution. I mean, I started lessons when I was 6.5, and that was I was trained classically.
Yeah.
And I think all those years growing up, there was sort of an unspoken assumption that maybe I would become a concert pianist. And that was certainly the repertoire that I was learning. But at the same time that I was practicing classical music for my weekly lesson, I was also playing by ear. And so I did listen to a lot of top 40. I was listening to Broadway show albums. If I went to see a movie and it had a memorable movie theme, I could come home and I could, I would see Mary Poppins, or I would see How the West Was Won, or whatever, How to Succeed in Business, whatever the movies were that were coming out, during the 60s. I could come home and play them on the piano and with the harmonies, and I was also composing my own music at the same time. And I was lucky in that my piano teachers never discouraged that.
Right.
So for my lessons, I was only doing classical music, but if I was writing a piece, my teachers would, they would listen to my compositions and maybe make some suggestions, or, but they were always encouraging. And none of them ever discouraged the fact that I also was playing pop stuff by ear on my own, as long as it didn't interfere with the pieces that I was supposed to be preparing for my lesson. I've since met tons of people who, like myself, started with piano lessons but liked to play by ear, but they had teachers that discouraged that. I don't know, somehow I was joking about, corrupting influences, but there are a lot of teachers who actually kind of believe that. Like if you were letting your student play by ear somehow, then they wouldn't really learn how to read music properly or something. I don't know. But I feel very lucky that the teachers I had approved that, I could do both, that
Right.
I could pursue playing popular music on my own time and write my own music. Again, as long as I at least devoted a half an hour every day to practicing Bach and Mozart and Chopin and whatever they were throwing at me.
Right.
And I enjoyed the classical music. I'm very grateful that I have that background and that I can read music, that I have the technique to pretty much play anything that someone would put in front of me. That has served me very well. And, and at the same time, like I said, in terms of popular music, I gravitated right from the beginning to composers like Burt Bacharach, to Tony Hatch, who was writing for Petula Clark, Jimmy Webb, who was writing for The Fifth Dimension, Laura Nero. These were sophisticated composers. They weren't just writing 3-chord stuff. And I was never very interested in rock and roll. I was never very interested in stuff that was, to my ears at that point, already too simplistic.
Like one-hit wonder type music?
Well, yeah, stuff that was 3-chord. I wasn't into, like a lot of my friends were into the Rolling Stones and rock, the rock groups of that era. And it didn't interest me because the harmonies were too basic. I would listen to a song like One Less Bell to Answer or Don't Sleep on the Subway,
right,
and go to the piano and try to figure those out. And that took some doing. Those were intricate songs.
Yeah.
And so I developed kind of a sophisticated ear from a very early age. When the cast album of Promises, Promises came out, I just wore that out because that was stimulating to me. Bernstein's West Side Story,
yeah,
these were, scores and music that just kind of made my mind explode.
How about movie music, soundtracks to the epic films and movies? Did that also appeal to you?
Again, yes. Very often, I said I would go to a movie, and if the theme was running around it, basically anything that was running around in my mind, I could go to the piano and play.
What would be some of the ones that you recall that really stood out for you early on? Just the themes they just really tugged at you.
As a little kid, I don't know what year How the West Was Won. That was a big roadshow picture when it came out, and that you hear that theme through the whole picture. So I came home and played it. Then later I realized it was Greensleeves. When Christmas rolled around.
What child is this?
Right.
What
I said,
child is this? Yeah.
I said, wait a minute, I know this. That's How the West Was Won. Why are they singing this at Christmas time?
It was kind of funny because the Eyewitness News theme on the ABC stations is the original cut of that comes from the movie Cool Hand Luke.
Oh. Down here on the ground.
That's from the movie Cool Hand Luke. And they lifted that and turned it into a news theme that's been used 30, 40 years now on television on the ABC stations. Yeah. It's amazing, huh?
And you might remember then ABC, I think it was Wednesday Night at the Movies.
Yes.
Years later, I found that on a Burt Bacharach album. It's a song he wrote called Nikki, which he wrote as tribute to his daughter.
The movie of the week.
Movie of the week.
Yes, and the announcer would come on tonight on the movie of the week, and it would be some right, exactly, very bold. I miss tonight on the ABC movie of the week. I miss all that. I wish that I loved all of that. The production music like that and themes and jingles and all those things that created a flavor of feeling, an excitement about what you were going to see. And as a TV person, all the themes to the TV shows, just so much time and effort went into a lot of that. And you just don't see or hear that as much anymore. And I really do miss all of that. Even the big opens for, like you say, for the movies, the CBS Sunday night movie. The open and the graphics and the drama of the open sometimes was even better than the movie.
But, we were talking about top 40, and that doesn't exist. That format no longer exists. I mean, people can make their own playlists, but the generations that are growing up now, the way music is formatted, it's, everything is a particular flavor. So you go to, say, you just listen to rap, or you just listen to country, or you just listen to, contemporary R&B, or you just listen, everything is very narrowly programmed. But top 40 in the 60s and into the 70s meant that you would hear, say, a Henry Mancini movie theme, followed by Jose Feliciano, followed by Dionne Warwick, followed by a Beatles song, followed by Motown group, the Supremes, followed by, it was such, Bobby Gentry singing, a country flavored thing. It was all popular music. It was all top 40. And so, I feel like I was fed this very rich, eclectic diet. And so my taste in music is very eclectic. And from my mom's background, I, from an early age, fell in love with Viennese operetta. And on an early trip to Europe, where my mom and dad took my brother and me to see the places where she grew up, and we were in Vienna, and they took us to see an operetta, an actual, the real thing, Franz Lehar's The Land of Smiles, and talk about memorable melodies. I mean, I came home and I played the whole score on the piano because it was just so memorable and melodic. And I begged them for the album, and I just, listened to that over and over again. So my taste runs from Viennese operetta to, Bacharach David to, Motown.
Movie of the week and everything.
Everything, and,
well,
Ed Sullivan. I mean, just the fact that there were variety shows. Ed Sullivan,
yes.
Carol Burnett Show, Smothers Brothers.
All of it.
All of those shows had guests that were every kind of, from opera to pop to country to R&B. It was all popular, and the whole country was listening to all of those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we don't have that now, and I think it's sad. And I think I think our musical landscape now is poor because we don't have it. It's a strange paradox. We have, with YouTube and computers and everything, we have more access. Anyone, if they really have a curious mind, can access more music and more kinds of music than you could ever dream of. But do people actually do it? I kind of don't think so for the most part.
Well, I have a special treat for you, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And let's see if you recognize this. Here we go.
The movie of the week. ABC presents an original motion picture produced especially for the movie of the week. Tonight on the movie of the week.
We move fast here. We move fast.
You're on it. You're on it.
We're on it. The movie of the week, ABC. Oh. Cool stuff. The memories, I tell you, the memories. People have asked, as far as the folks that you've had an opportunity to work with, an illustrious lot of people, and we have some wonderful photos here that I want to go through too. This one I really like. This is a cool one here.
Huh. Well, that's my friend Sean Harkness, who's
one
of the busiest guitar players around. He's just a brilliant, talk about multifaceted. He plays every style of guitar and is just so in demand both for live performances and in the studio. Yeah. And he's probably my first call you know, a large percentage of work that I do, again, in terms of live cabaret performances, and when I go in the studio and I want someone to, you know, I can give him a chart with very little information on it and just say, here, make this sound great. You know?
Do you recall what you were working on then together?
This particular picture, I don't know, but it's from a few years ago. Yeah. I'm not sure what that's from. Now this picture, I believe, is backstage at a club that unfortunately is no more. It was called Le Chat Noir, the Black Cat, in New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities. And I think this was an evening to celebrate the club. I think it might be when they were closing the club, and this was after Katrina. They made it through Hurricane Katrina and made it for another couple of years, and then they were kind of forced to close, and they wanted to bring down some of the cabaret people from New York that had come down in previous seasons that they liked. From left to right, it's pianist, musical director Shelley Markham. And next to him, the tall guy is Todd Murray, who's a wonderful singer from LA, who does a show called Croon. Next to him is Andrea Marcovici, who people will know from both her cabaret concerts and from the movies. She's been around a while and is just beautiful. And Shelley Markham, the pianist who's on the end there, he and Andrea have been in a musical partnership for decades. In the middle, in the bright blue, kind of cobalt blue shirt and tan jacket, is my pal Jason Graw, who's a delightful, funny,
on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Very funny actor and singer.
Yeah, he's terrific, hilarious.
Again, hilarious guy. Among his bit more bizarre credits is he was the voice of Lucky the Leprechaun for Lucky Charms cereals.
Yes, we talked about that when he was on the show. That's right. And I pulled up, like I did for you with Movie of the Week, we pulled up the Lucky Charms commercial, and he was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that paid his bills for a few years.
Yes.
And we still work together quite a bit. And in fact, he and Liz Calloway are very good friends, and he and Faith Prince are very good friends. So, and I work with all three of them, and both Liz and Faith do duet shows with Jason.
Oh yeah.
So in addition to his solo shows, he does a duet show with Liz and a duet show with Faith, and three of us have an amazingly fun time. And then that's me. And at the end is Anna Bergman, who's a wonderful, legit soprano, who just recently, she and her husband moved to Northern Virginia. And very she's nice. Scaring up gigs there, I guess.
Happy smiley faces in that shot, and in this one too.
This is Rita Gardner. Anyone who's a fan of the Fantasticks, will remember Rita Gardner as the girl, and that was the show. Started off Broadway and became the longest-running musical, I think, in American history. Played at the Sullivan Street Playhouse for I don't know how many decades, and then it moved to Midtown for another couple decades, and then finally closed. But I think it's still the record holder for the longest running American musical. And she introduced songs like "Soon It's Gonna Rain" and much more. And she was the original Louisa, and generations of young women have grown up listening to that cast album.
Oh, absolutely.
Imitating her soprano. And she and I are still working together. We have a tribute show, a tribute to Schmidt and Jones, the composer and lyricist of the Fantasticks, which we hope to film so that we can stream it and put it online. But she still sounds wonderful.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Anne and Liz.
They're the Calloway sisters. They have several sister shows that they do together, and one of our favorite ones is called Sibling Revelry.
That's right.
Which obviously is a play on rivalry, and hence the boxing gloves, which is really for a publicity shot. They really are best pals. And on the far left is wonderful bass player, Jared Egan, and on the far right, our drummer, Ron Tierno. And Liz met Ron when she was doing Cats on Broadway, which she played Grisabella for about 5 years on and off. And Ron was the drummer, I think, for the whole run of that show.
That was at 54 Below.
Yeah. And then this picture was taken outside the green room at 54 Below, which is a nightclub in New York.
Oh, yeah. Great place. And they're getting back in gear, too, which is great to see.
Yes, I've just been there a couple times already.
I know.
I've been there with Leroy Reams. We've done a couple dates, and we have a third date for anyone who's going to be in the area on August 23rd. Leroy Reams, who played Billy Lawler in 42nd Street.
That's right.
The David Merritt musical, singing and dancing on top of the dimes. Leroy Reams, he and I are going to be back at Feinstein's 54 Below August 23rd, which is Leroy's birthday.
Ah, it doesn't get any better than that, huh?
So it should be very festive, and we're doing an all Jerry Herman program. So, it's going to be a party.
It's going to be a party.
Yeah.
Look at this shot.
And there's Faith Prince. And this was taken when she went into that revival of Annie that played at the Palace few years ago, and she was a replacement for the role of Miss Hannigan, and I went, of course, to see her play Miss Hannigan, which was a perfect marriage of performer and role. And as we were leaving the theater to grab a bite, we noticed this motorcycle in the alley, and I said, "Oh, Faith, I've got to get a picture of you with this motorcycle." So she put on some attitude, and became a biker chick for a couple seconds. It's just one of my favorite pictures of her.
Roslyn Kind and Richard J. Alexander. Roslyn was on our show just a couple weeks back. Delight. Great shot of the three of you at 54 Below, huh? Yep. You remember the event?
Oh, absolutely. This was Rosie's first time performing in New York City in many decades. She lives in L.A. She's from Brooklyn, of course.
Brooklyn, yeah.
But she
sister of Barbara Streisand, for those
she's
watching.
The younger sister, half sister of Barbara Streisand. She moved out to LA many years ago, and a lot of her New York fans kept saying, "When are you coming back to New York? When are you coming back to New York?" So she finally came back to New York, and Richard J. Alexander on the right there, who directs Barbara's shows, was directing Rosie's show, and Richard J. had seen my work with the Callaways and other people, and he thought that I would be a good match with Rosie. So he put us together, and we clicked, and we threw together this show, and we did, I think, originally 2 dates at 54 Below, and then subsequently we took it around, and we did it in Florida and Detroit and other places around the country. And
she's got a wonderful sense of humor too.
Yeah, she's delightful, very sweet.
Yeah.
And I remember that night, this was opening night, and her sister sent her this bouquet of roses that were just exquisite.
That was a great night. So you hope to work together again soon at some point?
Oh, yeah, we're still in touch, and we talked not too long ago, and she's been working on an album out in L.A., and I think one of my arrangements is on it. So I hope that will come out.
What for you was that pivotal big break moment in the industry, in your own career, that really, set the stage for everything that followed after? In terms of
I'm still waiting for it.
People do say that. People say that. They're like, the big thing, Jim, I'm still waiting. Then if you can have somebody call me, maybe it'll happen. But
I'm available.
He's available. He didn't say he works cheap, but he is available. So I'm sure there's a few things that you're like, gee, thank God that happened, because that led to that. What were some of those maybe early moments for you that were pivotal in the career?
Well, we've mentioned a couple of them, actually, and what you just said a second ago is so true, that something leads to something else. But at the time, when you're inside of it, when you're living it, you're not aware of it.
Right.
And I just turned 64 on July 11th, which is
happy birthday.
Thank you. Which is now I have a little bit of perspective at this age to look back. Salute. At 64, I can look back, and I'm now seeing connections that I've never really thought about before. But exactly what you said, like somebody, that this happened because of something else that happened before, and something else set the stage for that.
Right.
And when you're living it, you're not aware of these things, but looking back on it, there definitely are turning points. I mean, here's a weird example of that. We were talking about lovatives. One of the lovatives in my life was a woman that my brother and I we called her Aunt Sally. Now, she wasn't a relative. She wasn't a blood aunt. She was a lovative. She was a good friend of my grandmother's, and to us, she was Aunt Sally. And she was kind of a kook and just kind of an anti-name, blithe spirit type person, very fun. And she was very encouraging to me when I was, still like in elementary school, but playing piano, and I guess I was, precocious. And she picked up on that. And at parties, one of our little party tricks is she would start to narrate a story. She would just make up, just start improvising a tale, and I would underscore it, kind of like silent movie music. So if she would talk about the villain, I would play villain music. And if she talked about a shipwreck, I would play shipwreck music. Anyway, so that sort of developed. Again, I wasn't thinking about it, when I was, 8 years old or 9 years old or whatever, but I was developing a sense of how to improvise in a storytelling mode. That then set the stage for later when I'm in junior high school. There's a production of a melodrama called The Drunkard, and I guess the teacher that was directing it approached me in the hall one day and said, "We understand, that you play piano and improvise. Could you provide some music for our production of this melodrama?" So they put me into this production like the day of the show or the day before the show. And I already knew what to do because I had developed that skill with Aunt Sally. So watching them do a run through of the show, which I had never seen, but it was the villain, it was the sweet young thing, it was the hero, it was all these standard plot devices, and I kind of knew what to do musically. I was improvising to follow the action, and they loved it. Well, that was pivotal because up to that point, like I said, I was sort of thinking, I'll probably be a concert pianist. That was sort of the track that I was on.
Right.
This was the first time I was associated with a show, with the theater. Yeah. And that was such a rush because practicing the piano in the basement of your house while all the other kids are out playing is a bit solitary and a bit lonely, even if you enjoy music, which I did, but it's still kind of isolating. And to be part of a show like that, I mean, I was never into sports. I was never on a team, but I imagine that it must be a similar feeling of comradeship that people when they're on teams feel, you get together with your teammates. Well, that was how I felt being at a cast party for this show. It was like suddenly I was part of a group, and that's a kind of energy that I hadn't known before. And the big turn on for me was not the performance of that show. It really was the cast party afterward and people passing around the program and signing each other's programs. I had never known that thing.
Right.
And that was a click in my mind that, oh, maybe I like this musical theater thing a little more than I like practicing, Mozart by myself in the basement. So that was pivotal.
Very pivotal. That was very important. Yeah.
Because like I said, I had all these things that were sort of going simultaneously, but I didn't really know which thing was going to emerge. I also was into creative writing. I also like to draw. I was into all the arts. And there are any number of directions my life could have gone. And in fact, in high school, you do these tests that are supposed to tell you like what careers you have I think they're called aptitude tests, right? And they ask you these questions like multiple choice. If you would rather spend would you rather spend time doing A, B, C, D, and you fill out, and then based on your answers, they say, oh, you should be, a biologist, or you should be a whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came up for me was a critic, because I like to write and I like the arts. So combining my love of writing and the arts, I could see where they thought, maybe I would be like an arts journalist or a critic, or maybe like what you do, like the host of some kind of variety show, and I probably would enjoy doing something like that. And in fact, just a few years ago, Cabaret Scenes approached me and asked if I would write reviews for them. They were looking for new reviewers. But I said, I think it's too much of a conflict of interest. I said, on one hand, I would love to be able to see all these shows and write about them. But I said, because I'm so visible and I'm out there doing it, and I know so many of these people and they know me, I said, it just feels a little not quite right.
For folks that are watching who are learning about you for the very first time, talk about and share with us some of the projects they might be familiar with, some of the music they might be familiar with, and some of the projects that you are most proud of.
Well, things that people, names or projects that people would have heard of. So the first Broadway show that I worked on was Merrily We Roll Along, it was a flop. Only ran 2 weeks, but has now attained legendary status. The songs have now become standards. It's revived in multiple productions all the time. And apparently now they're making a movie version of it, which because it's about people's lives over a 20-year span. This film director is going to film it over literally 20 years. He's hired the cast and is going to film them for the next 20 years, which is extraordinary. But that was my first Broadway show. I met Liz Calloway from that experience. Jason Alexander was in that show. There were a number of people that have gone on, to
major
great
things.
To major things. Lonnie Price, Jim Walton, Giancarlo Esposito, and Morrison. So that was a great experience, not to mention just hanging out in Hal Prince's office, and other things came out of that. Again, one day I was up in the office and Hal Prince gets off the phone and he said, "Oh, that was George Abbott. How would you like to go down to Florida and play for George Abbott?" So I met George Abbott, who at that time was 93 years old.
Wow.
He lived to the age of 107. So I got to work with him for 14 years, which is amazing, and through George Abbott, other things happened. So everything connects to everything else. I've been blessed to work with other, amazing, legendary show people like Tommy Tune, like Eartha Kitt, like the McGuire sisters. I got to at George Abbott's memorial, I got to play for John Raitt on the stage of the St. James Theater, where he created the role of Billy Bigelow, in Carousel. So, I mentioned Faith Prince. She won the Tony Award for playing Miss Adelaide in that Nathan Lane Faith Prince revival of Guys and Dolls, 1992. And Faith and I still work together, and she's recorded some of my music, So I consider her a lovative too. She really is like family.
Where do you get your inspiration from when you are penning the material? Are you an observer of people, of life? What sources of inspiration rise to the surface for you to be able to create the actual music itself, Alex?
It depends. As I said, I'm a pretty eclectic person in terms of influences. There are times where I'll just write music, but more often than not, my music comes from words, from a specific project. Either a lyricist sends me a lyric that needs music, and so the words and the meaning and the images of the words evoke music, which again is probably drawing on that same impulse that I had as a kid when I was improvising to Aunt Sally's stories. If I have an image or a story, I kind of instinctively gravitate toward coming up with music that is complementary to that. Every once in a while, though, a tune will pop into my mind, and I have written Carol Hall, who's best known for her show The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and songs like Jenny Rebecca, and whom sadly we lost about 4 years ago. But she and I met at the Cabaret Conference at Yale for about a 10-year stretch. There was every summer there was a Cabaret Conference on the campus of Yale University, and Carol Hall and I were both faculty members of that conference. And I think it was in 2006, we were both up there that same summer. And we just, I knew who she was. I think maybe, I don't know if she knew who I was, but I certainly knew who she was. And we kind of clicked, and we were teaching together. And one day we sat down for lunch together, and she said, "How would you like to write some songs together?" And I was, blown away. And we did write a handful of songs. And a couple of those songs were, I had a melody that I thought, this is something that maybe would appeal to her. And I threw one of the melodies I threw to Carol became a Christmas song, which I really, really love. And it's and Liz Calloway just recorded it this past winter on Liz's Christmas album. And
what's the title?
And I knew you were going to ask that. And, it's called,
it's called, not Green Sleeves.
It's called Christmas Eve. Could not ask for more.
We'll look out for that. Is that going to be on something coming out for Christmas?
It's been there are a couple of versions of it on YouTube, but Liz Calloway just made the first of, I think she or Kevin Dozier. I'm trying to remember who recorded it first. It's a fellow named Kevin Dozier who also did a Christmas album. I think Kevin actually got to it first. So it's called Christmas Eve. It's by me, Alex Rybeck, and Carol Hall wrote the lyric. And I gave her this melody. I didn't write it to be a holiday song. It was just music.
Yeah.
But she, in her mind, she came up with this lyric that was, a holiday song. And so beautiful. And it was within 24, 48 hours after I sent her an MP3 of me playing this tune on the piano. I get this email with this beautiful, beautiful, touching lyric. And Liz did the original demo of it, that I'm sure of. And I think then Kevin, recorded a version of it. And then Liz, during the pandemic, she wanted to do something, not just sit at home. And she did, but she was not coming into the city during the quarantine. She lives in Westchester. But she discovered that one of her neighbors is a brilliant guitar player named Peter Kalo, who's best known for being Carly Simon's musical partner. And I think they ran into each other walking dogs or something and discovered that they live like 5 houses apart up in Westchester. And Liz, after she got to know him, she said, "I know this is a crazy idea, and really crazy because it's, it was like already October." And she said, "How fast do you think we could do a Christmas? Is there any possibility that we could create a Christmas album? Do you have the technology in your place that we can record? Because I don't want to go into the studio and, the studios are all closed anyway."
Yeah.
But she had heard that, or maybe he told her that he had a home studio set up. And she was like, "Well, do you think we could do it at your home studio? And do you think there's any way in hell that we could get it, even though it's already October, that we could get this out in a few weeks in time for the all-important Christmas shopping season?" Anyway, they did it. She went online and asked her Facebook friends, what are your favorite Christmas songs that you would like to hear me sing? And of course, she got 2,000 responses, but she narrowed it down. And of course, I put in a pitch for Christmas Eve, could not ask for more, because she had done this demo a few years earlier. And happily, she and Peter came up with a lovely guitar and vocal arrangement. And that's on the CD that they released this past December.
That is exciting. Congratulations on all that, huh?
Yeah, very lucky.
That's very exciting. Speaking of music, we actually, as I was mentioning in the top of the show when we began, we have some special sort of exclusive material. We're kind of debuting in a way here exclusively on the Jim Master Show Live. We have some unreleased material like this, Across Your Pillow. Tell us about this, Alex.
Okay, it's a ballad that I wrote with John Forster, who's a wonderful songwriter and who's mostly known for writing funny, very funny songs. He's like a contemporary Tom Lehrer. I mean, he just writes these brilliant, witty, funny songs. And one of the reasons I wanted to work with John is because I don't have a lot of comedy material in my catalog, and I thought, you know, I've got lots of nice ballads, but I want to have some fun things too. And so John and I have been writing together, and so far all we've written are ballads. And this is one of them, and I really like it, and I hope I'm thrilled that that you have it and want to play it, because I think it's a very attractive song, and the vocalist is a dear friend of mine named LaTanya Hall, and she's a wonderful singer who has sung backgrounds for everybody in the business, from Steve Tyrell to I mean, just top people, and she's also recorded under her own name in her own right, and she's brilliant. So she's the vocalist on this demo. And,
there it is.
There it is.
Across Your Pillow.
The sight of you, familiar and yet new. Oh, how I love the view across your pillow. The years flow on, and still we share the dawn, and stars to wish upon across your pillow. No place I'd rather be than here. No face I'd rather see than yours so near. So swear you'll stay.
Oh, what happened?
MP3s are very difficult to play live. They always do. That's why we try to shy away from them. The MP4s, the videos are better. But
so it's a teaser.
Yes, that was a little teaser. I think if for some reason it doesn't like MP3s, or at least the way these are delivered sometimes. So let's see what we can do here.
Well, you got the flavor of it.
We got the flavor of it. Let's see if we can call it back up. The singer's voice, like you were saying, is beautiful.
She's tremendous.
Yeah.
She's tremendous.
Was that the first time you worked with her?
No, we met on, well, I mentioned how important Burt Bacharach's music was to me growing up. Well, I got to work on a project that was all built around his music. Like Mamma Mia, it was a book show that used a pop catalog. Mamma Mia, of course, was a story that used the songs of ABBA. This was a show called What the World Needs Now, and it was a story that was crafted around the songbook of Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And we did a New York workshop and then a full stage production in San Diego. And LaTanya Hall was in the cast of that show. So that's how she and I met.
Let's see if we can call it up again. They're saying, our lovelies are saying, oh, that was very nice and very beautiful vocals and music, beautiful and hearts. Love it, love it, love it. So let's see if we can, it's the particular way the MP3 is formatted, I think, that it doesn't love it. But let's see if we could bring it back up. You know, the show must go on. You keep going. Across Your Pillow.
The sight of you, familiar and yet new. Oh, how I love the view across your pillow. The years flow on, and still we share the dawn, and stars to wish upon across your pillow. No place I'd rather be than here. No face I'd rather see than yours so near. So swear you'll stay and always end each day a tender kiss away across your pillow. No place I'd rather be than here. No face I'd rather see than yours so near. So here we'll stay and always end each day a tender kiss away across your pillow. Across your pillow. Across your pillow.
That's really beautiful. That is
Thanks.
really beautiful. And I'm glad we got to hear the whole thing because you needed to really, you know, just be swept away by it. I just want to show you the love and ease around the world. Our viewers, our A-team here, they're responding. Absolutely. Alessandra reminds me of what we listened to in college, which was really nice. Merlin says, sure is easy listening music. Kathleen says, very nice. Alessandra says, I can see myself sitting in a club, listening to this music, sipping on some wine and relaxing. This is so beautiful. Very soothing. Hearts from Sherry Larson, beautiful from Juanita in South Africa, Mary Bishop in Florida, very beautiful vocals and music. Maureen says, oh, that was so very nice. That is beautiful. That really is a beautiful song.
Thank you. The guitar player is Sean Hartness, whose picture you were looking at earlier.
Oh, that was Sean, really?
That was Sean, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How long ago was that, you said? That,
this demo?
That's that unreleased song, yeah.
It's not that long, maybe 4 years ago.
So that was just about 4 years ago.
That's probably something about that. I think that's about right.
We have another one that we're going to share as well. And, you know, we appreciate all this wonderful music. This is Even Now. Tell us about this one, Alex.
Oh, well, this is this is also the same lyricist, John Forster. Funny guy, and it's another heart-wrenching song. Actually, do you have time? there's a bit of a backstory if you want.
Sure.
The long story. And it involves a songwriter that some of your listeners may know the name Julie Gold, who's most famous. She won the Grammy for Song of the Year for "From a Distance," "From a Distance," da 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 da. That became the #1 song. Bette Midler's version of it. Julie Gold, to this day, claims that song was kind of channeled to her by this spinet piano that she has, which is a rare piano, the make of which, we've all heard of Steinway and Baldwin. This piano is called Magic Knight, Knight, like a knight in shining armor, Magic Knight. And she believes that this piano has magic powers and that it kind of conveyed her big hit song to her. So her way to kind of give back from having received that miracle is she allows other songwriters to spend an hour on this spinet to see if that piano might produce another song for somebody else, which is kind of a cool idea. And she and I are friends because we both share a lot of the same passions, like Petula Clark and things like this. We grew up kind of in the same era. And so she got around to inviting me to be one of the people that she would have come over to her place and commune with her Magic Knight piano. And the way that works is you're supposed to show up and have no preconceived ideas. You're not supposed to come up with any project that's, half formed or anything like that. You're supposed to come to it completely blank, which for me is easy. And then she leaves the apartment, and she leaves you alone in her apartment with the piano. And it's like, whatever happens, happens. If nothing happens in that hour, that's cool. If you get an idea for something, that's cool. If it's a song, if it's a theme, it's just whatever happens. And so I did that. She asked me to come by on this certain day that we agreed on. And, again, fate works in strange ways. I'm waiting, and I got there a little bit early. I didn't want to be too early. I wanted to be right on the dot. So I'm standing in her hallway outside her apartment. She lives in Greenwich Village on the top floor of this apartment. Standing there in the hallway, and I'm checking my phone just to kill time. And the news of Marin Maisie's death was on my phone, the Broadway star who was a friend of mine. And so those of us who were close to her knew that she was battling cancer. So it wasn't a total shock, and yet it's always a shock when somebody you know and love dies. And so I was just reading that news, and then Julie opens the door and sees me. Oh, come in. So the confluence of these two events, on one hand, I was thrilled to be finally doing this project on Julie's piano. I'm there in her apartment looking out over the city. And at the same time, my heart was really heavy because I had just heard this news about my friend. So Julie goes over the rules with me again. She leaves the apartment. I'm there sitting at her piano. And it was kind of a gray, overcast day. I'm looking out over the rooftops of Greenwich Village on this kind of melancholy day, and my hands just start, noodling. And before the hour was up, I had this theme. It's just a musical theme. And Julie came back, and she said, "Did you get anything?" And I said, "I think I did." And I said, I notated it, and I think it could be, maybe it's a song, I don't know, but it's definitely a theme. And she said, "Great." She said, every once in a while, so maybe a couple times a year, I do a night at the Duplex, little club down the village. And she said, and I invite 5 or 6 of the songwriters that have done this project, and they share. She said, "I don't want to hear what you came up with now." She said, I never want to listen to what people came up with at the moment they came up with it. She said, "But a couple times a year, I do these nights at the Duplex, and the songwriters show up, and they play or sing whatever they came up with and share it with each other." And I said, "Oh, that sounds wonderful." So she said, "I'll let you know the next time I do one of these." Well, she said, and it won't be the next. She said, the one that's imminent, I've already it's already booked. So she said, it'll probably be like 6 months down the road or something. I said, "Great." Well, like a week later, she calls me. She said, "I'm doing a night at the end of this week." And she said, "I didn't think you would be involved because it was already booked. But somebody just dropped out. So she said, there's a space. If you're free this Saturday, you could play this music that you came up with. And in between the time that I had been at her apartment and the time that she called me about this slot, I had called my friend John Forster. And I said, I told him the story. I said, I was just up at Julie's apartment. It was the day that Maren died. I said, I came up with this theme. And I don't know if you hear lyrics, if you might hear lyrics in this music, but I want to throw it to you because I think it might be a song. So I had sent the music to John, and he had started to write a beautiful lyric called Even Now. And it was sort of from the standpoint of Maren's husband, who's missing the great love of his life. And how even now, even though you're gone, even now, all these things are reminding me of you. That was sort of the gist of the song. So now Julie's calling me. Do you have anything to can you be in my show this Saturday to play? And I said, we're like 98% finished with this song. I said, let me call John and see if he can finish it in time. Because I said, he's got most of the lyric, And I said, I now have to tweak some of the music to fit the words. And, we have to tweak it a little bit. So I called John and told him about this opportunity. He said, oh, great. So he finished the lyric. I tweaked the music. And then I knew that I didn't have the voice to do it justice because the way the song, it was such a romantic kind of melody. And I said, this needs a real voice to put it across. And at that time, I'd been working with a young up-and-coming singer-actor named Joshua Lance Dixon, who in a short span of years has won a bunch of cabaret awards and has made quite a name for himself around New York City. And I called him up. And of course, he had a terrible cold. But I told him I said, I have this song. And if you can learn it like in the next 2 days, we can premiere it at the Duplex, and Julie Gold will be there and all these other songwriters. And he said he'd give it a shot. And we didn't even really have time to rehearse it. I said, I'll meet you in a rehearsal studio on our way down to the room, to the club. And so literally I met him in this rehearsal studio. We ran through it a couple times. And even with the cold, he sounded so great on it. And we went down to the Duplex, and it was one of the highlights, I must say, of that evening at the Duplex. And of course, Julia had never heard it. She just knew I had told her that I'd written this thing, and I brought along Josh to sing it. And people were they just loved it. And but we haven't really had a chance to exploit it yet. So again, this is kind of a world premiere, other than that one night at the Duplex when Joshua sang it for a room of about 50 people.
That's amazing. What an amazing preface and intro to the story. My headphones went out. Can you repeat that? No.
Make up your own story.
He enjoyed it. He had a good time writing it. I was going to say, that is funny. That is a beautiful story. That really is.
Well, I guess the epilogue to that is I then sent it to Jason Daniely, Maren's husband. Yeah. And he wrote back, wow, so he loved it. And I was kind of hoping that maybe he might want to sing it and do the demo. But I think it was too soon. And the song, I think, just was too painful. And so Joshua did this demo that you're about to play, and he sings it beautifully. He sings it. I don't know if it will come across because of the sound issues we're having, but anyway, we'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Here we go. Even Now.
Even now in a cloud.
Yeah. So it's always the first part of these MP3s. For some reason, something triggers them to pause.
And it's like there's a filter that's filtering out all believe it or not, this is a grand piano and it's very lush. But listening to it, at least through my earbuds, it sounds like a electric keyboard, and it sounds very staccato. We're not hearing the pedal. We're not hearing that it's a grand piano. And it's like half the sound is filtered out.
Is filtered through.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
It's just the way it is. Yeah, the MP3s are very difficult. We prefer MOV files, MP4 files, or other ways.
Oh, I wish I'd known that, because
just the way these particular, we played MP3s 2 nights ago. We had no issue at all. It's just the way that these are sent through the email, and just
these are all that I have. But if they're
attached to emails, which makes it.
But I'm not very tech savvy. But but my collaborator John Forster is. And if you ever, if I'm allowed back on the show some point,
absolutely. I just think it's because they're attached to emails.
Well, I was going to say I could knowing this now, I could probably get John to send these to you.
Knowing it even now,
even now,
now, we're gonna give it another. We're gonna bring it back.
We'll try it.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we won't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, with that build up, of course they have to hear it now.
Well,
they're dying to hear it now. They must hear it now, and we are going to have them hear it now. Okay. It's just it's the way it was sent to us, attached to the email, is what it is. Because again, we play MP3s and it works, but when it's attached to just generically like an email, it doesn't go well. But let's see what we can do here. We are working to put it together, and next time we'll have you have the music on video, and you can take beautiful shots of the garden or Central Park with the music behind it.
Okay, are you going to produce that?
We'll make a music video out of it, right?
Right.
Here we go. Yeah, when it's just attached to an email and sent that way, it doesn't. There's some link or something missing. But let's give it a shot, as we always do here. We've trudged forward, even now.
Even now, in a cloud, I'll see you. Even now, in the stars, I feel you. In the breeze on my cheek, you remain. And it's hard to believe I will never hold you again. You were mine through the tears, the glory, through the years of our wild, winding story. To the master of time we must bow. Still I know you are near. I can feel you here. Even now, all the nights we shared when our souls were bared, they exist now forever. Every kiss we kissed, that too will exist forever. Somewhere as our moments passed and our moments to come swirl into the vast continuum. Even now you are all around me. You're the thought that can still astound me. You're the blue of my sky. You're my who, my why, my how. Even now, even now, even now.
Really nice, really nice. We love that. Really nice. And, you just keep going forward. I've been in enough scenarios on television and radio where you just got to keep moving forward. You don't give in, you don't give up. And look what happens as a result. Lovely. Mary Bishop in Florida is loving it. Alessandra loves it as well. Lovely. Claps from Kathleen in New York City. Wowee, beautiful voice. Love the lyrics from Juanita in South Africa. And thank you for trying again. My pleasure. I knew it was worth it, gang. That's why. And he had a cold. Wow. Swoon from Maureen in Arizona. Sherry Larson says beautiful wrenches at the heartstrings. And that's gorgeous, Alex, from Charles Evans. Alessandra, such beautiful romantic music. Thank you for sharing with us, Alex. And
my pleasure.
More coming in here. Also enjoying all the stories, too, that we've been sharing tonight on the show. Wonderful story leading up to that actual song. Very beautiful, really touching, very meaningful. And, we talked about this with some previous guests on the show. Oftentimes, the composer, the lyricist, all of the above, they have certain intentions for their songs, for their material, and a message that they're delivering through that, and a feeling and a warmth they're delivering through that. But then what happens is the recipient, the consumer of it, takes it and makes it their own. They relate it to their own life, to their own experiences, to their own life's journey, their own story. And that's quite beautiful when that happens. I'm sure over the years with your material, your music, Alex, you've heard from people who have told you about where they were, what they were doing, or the feelings and emotions the music triggers for them. It might not be exact to what you wrote it for, but they take it and they attach it to their own lives. And that could be quite beautiful. And I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people sharing that with you over the years, huh?
Well, I wish that were true. The fact is that my music is not very well known. And it's I really have not put my music out in the world the way I might have. It's I try to live my life without a lot of regrets and looking back. Beating myself up about things. But that's one of the reasons I have to say I'm so grateful to you and shows like this, and the fact that you played these two songs and are giving them exposure. I had a big, epiphany a few years ago when the person who at that time was booking 54 Below here in New York, he said, "Do you want to do an evening of your music?" And I was shocked because I thought, well, I'm not really known as a songwriter. If people know my name at all, it's more as an arranger and a pianist. And yet I've been writing music for all these decades. And to this day, I'm not even sure why he asked me or how he even knew that I had an evening's worth of music to present. I had just been in the room with Faith Prince, and she had sung one of my songs as her encore. So that's the only thing I can think of that maybe gave him the notion that I had other songs.
That there's other things in the treasure chest.
Exactly. But he asked if I wanted to do an evening. And before I could stop myself, I said yes. And then, I thought, what have I done? And I went home and I thought, gee, do I have, in fact, an hour's worth of good material to foist upon an unsuspecting audience? And will anybody come? Because it's not like I've written a Broadway show at this point. I haven't written a theme that's been in a hit movie or anything. My songs are not known. I don't have a name as a songwriter. So who would come to see an evening of my songs? So I was kind of skeptical, but a few people were encouraging and said, go for it, go for it. And as I started looking through my file cabinets, I realized I do have a lot of material. And I thought that I could put together a 70-minute show. Turned out to be more closer to a 90-minute show. And it sold out. And of course, one of the fortunate things, having been in the cabaret scene and in New York scene for this long, is I know all these amazing singers like Faith Prince, like Liz Calloway, like Karen Mason, like Kevin Dozier, Jeff Harner. So I figured, well, that's my hook. People aren't necessarily going to come based on my name and songs that
but
were never hit songs,
them.
But maybe they'll come to see an evening knowing they're going to get to hear the Calloway sisters or Karen Mason or Faith Prince. I'm not that stupid. So I put their names prominently on all the publicity, and the room did sell out. And the point was that this was about 7 years ago, I think, when I did this evening. And subsequently, because it did sell out, I did 2 more evenings like that in New York. I did an evening in LA. And I hope to do another one before this year is out. But what I realized from that first evening of my music 7 years ago is that it's really important for me, especially now, being an emerging songwriter in their 60s. It's like, if I don't start focusing on getting my songs out, never say never, but it's like time is not on my side, and I got to get my music out there. And I'm glad that I've done all the arranging and all the other things that I've done, but I really do want to get known as a songwriter, because my goal when I came to New York in 1980, frankly, was to write Broadway shows. And if somebody has an idea for a Broadway show and they're thinking, gee, who should we get to write the music? Well, the names that are going to come up will be, maybe Steve Flaherty or Jason Robert Brown or Pasek and Paul. They're not going to say Alex Rybeck if they've never heard my songs, if they don't know that I write music. So I figure I've got, at this point, a bunch of decent songs. I need to get them out in the world so that hopefully, if somebody does have a project that needs original music, maybe my name will be among those under consideration to be asked.
Wow.
So I'm putting that out there too.
Putting that out there.
If there's anyone out there with
right here on the
idea for a show
live, you heard it first.
if you're a screenwriter and you have or a director and you have a movie that needs a score, or you have an idea for a Broadway show and you're saying, gee, who should I get to write music? I write in every style of music you can imagine, and it's my passion to write music. So I'm just thrilled to have this opportunity and this platform to get some of my music out there, and the feedback from your listeners is very encouraging. So I thank you.
From all the lovelies watching us, and really, really fantastic. Somebody else enjoyed it tonight too. George Burns was with us this evening. Remember, he played God in the movie too, and he's got his cigar and his hanky. And whenever I bring him out towards the end, everybody is like, they fall in love with it. He sends his regards, and he says, good luck with all and blessings. I know, it's funny. I'm holding a George Burns doll live on air.
Okay.
But it's cool. Yeah.
Write your own joke.
That's it. This is my aunt's. It's actually a family heirloom. She got it when he was 100. When he made it to 100, I guess it was a collectible. So sometimes at the end of the show, he's sort of my Ed McMahon, my sidekick, and puts a smile on everybody's faces, which is so important these days, because there's a lot of negativity out there and a lot of people who aren't so kind and friendly. Lovely rules. Yes, right. Ralph. And more coming in. You're now part of our lovely family, Alessandra says. And yes, I love it. And very talented. Hang in there. And let's see, that's from Mary. They're all popping in here last minute. Thank you, Alex. Love your music. You're so talented. That's
thank you.
Sherry and Mary. Alex, you're talented. Hang in there. And how beautiful. And his voice is perfect as well. We love you and your music. Good stuff. This was a blessing. This was a lot of fun, my friend. And so glad we were able to share the music and the stories and the backstories and talk about some of the cool things that you are working on. And
next time I'll tell you my Ted Kennedy story.
Tell us the Ted Kennedy story. That's it. There's a teaser if you've ever heard one, my friends. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had and you enjoyed the time with me, as I certainly have with you, Alex.
I thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And again, continued success with everything you're doing. And as I say to all the guests, Go stretch those legs now.
You can go to the bathroom now.
Now you can go to the bathroom. I should tell the guests, don't drink any water. We did just under 2 hours, which
oh my
is a
gosh,
short show tonight.
Is this short for you?
We've been trying to shorten them because there's life to be lived, but it seems to not happen lately. Great conversations. Thank you, Alex, for spending time with us and sharing your stories. That's Juanita in South Africa. Thanks, Alex. Stay safe as well. And Maureen says, it was so great to hear the stories behind the music. Thank you, Alex. And Charles Evans says, thank you, Alex. Hope to hear more of your songs as well.
Thank you. Well, if people want to hear more of my songs, go to YouTube, because now they can do this without breaking any rules and without getting into any rights problems. Go to
Copyright
YouTube.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Google my name, Alex. Put in music of Alex Rybeck and go on YouTube. Music of Alex Rybeck, and a bunch of things will pop up. And you'll hear some funny songs too, not just ballads.
That's it. I know the copyright thing is so tricky. I know. Yeah. So those aren't copyrighted, that's why we're able to air those tonight. YouTube is tough with the copyright, but I'm glad we were able to air those, give people a good sense of that side of you as well.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Hopefully we'll see you soon in person. I'm sure it's a very small world, and we have a lot of similar circles out there of people that we're mutual friends with. And again, thanks for sharing the time with us on the show. Spread the word about our show. We would love that.
Absolutely.
And it was cool.
And people in the New York area, August 8th and 9th, Liz Calloway and I will be at 54 Below. And August 23rd, I'll be back at 54 Below with Leroy Rass.
Fantastic. You have a wonderful time, my friend. And again, thanks for sharing all this time. And again, I hope you had as fun a time as I did tonight.
Oh, this was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You take care now, okay?
You too. You too. Thank you, everybody watching, too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alex. Bye-bye now. Alex Rybeck live from New York on the Jim Masters Show Live. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Got a chance to hear those 2 songs. And I'm so happy about that. The MP3s, when they come through an email, sometimes can be tricky. They play and then they freeze. It's just the nature of how the MP3s are sent. But hey, we don't give up here. We always do our best to make sure we entertain you, inform you, educate you, and enlighten you. And you got a chance to hear some of the great stories, the backstories, the music, and so much more. And it was really, really terrific. Lots of cool stuff here. Look at this young pup. Look at that, huh? He's still there. Tell us that story of who that is there. Look at that.
Me. That's me.
Wow. When was that?
I'm trying to. I think that might be the recording session for the off-Broadway musical Wings at the Public Theater. And we did a cast album. Linda Stevens was the star of that. I think that's what this picture is.
We have one more we want to slip in too before we head out. Look at that one.
Oh, that's
Terry. Make sure we got that in. Yeah,
Miss Terry Burrell. Her sister Deborah Burrell was one of the original Dreams in Dreamgirls.
Oh yeah.
And as the show ran, Terry replaced Deborah. One of the few times in Broadway history when a sibling replaced her sibling. And of course, Terry has a wonderful career herself. She's based in Atlanta, but she comes to New York all the time. And she is one of the first people to sing my music. I met her in the early '80s when she was, here in New York, and we've done a number of things together. I adore her. One of the funniest people.
A lot of levity in that photo. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, that was a little encore, having Alex return. That was your encore, folks.
Now go.
Now the cane comes and exits.
Yeah, in the words of Norma Desmond, now go.
Now go. We don't use any canes or exit stage left stuff here. We
Get the hook.
We're not good. We're not good goodbye people here on our show. So we just say, see you later. See you later.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Sayonara. Thanks, Alex, again. We'll see you again soon, okay?
I hope so.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. There's your encore. That was a little bonus you got there. There was a couple more photos that we wanted to sneak in there that were very important, and I wanted to have him, talk about them rather than just me. You guys are the best. I want to let you know we've got a really fun show tomorrow. Rachel Kaufman is returning to the show. So is Clara Francesca, brilliant actress, Clara Francesca, wonderful musician and arranger and composer. Rachel Kaufman is with us, and our dear friend June Rachelson Aspa, brilliant lyricist. They are coming on. They are the women of the new musical Against the Grain. And boy, are we going to have a ball and lots of fun tomorrow, because all three ladies who are dear friends of mine and wildly talented, and we have a great friendship together. They are live on our show, all three as special guests tomorrow night. That is Wednesday night, and it's going to be incredible. We're going to talk about the new musical and lots more. We're going to have a ball tomorrow night with all three, June, Rachel, and Clara. All three will be with us. And then coming up on Thursday, yes, Grammy-nominated and Billboard charting recording artist Billy Gilman. You may remember him competing on The Voice on NBC. Adam Levine from Maroon 5 took him under his wing. However, Miley Cyrus, Alicia Keys, and Blake Shelton, as well as Adam Levine, all fought each other over getting to work with Billy Gilman. And he's extraordinary. He has sold millions of albums. He's going to be here exclusively on the Jim Masters Show coming up this Thursday. Yes. So excited about that. He's wanted to come on the show, so he's going to be coming on the show, and we look forward to that. We thank our friend Alex Rybeck. Alec was terrific. Alex is, as you know, Alex is very talented and a good guy, and it was a pleasure. There he is at 54 Below. You are very welcome, Sherry. I love having you here, and my wonderful loveties who are here, good night to you as well. Yes, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun tomorrow when we have all three with us, all three ladies with us. Don't forget, you can see all of the episodes. We have over 430, just under 430 episodes. Think about that. In just a little over a year's time. There's only 365 days in a year. And we have over just about 430 episodes of this series as of today. Now, if you're watching this a year from now, we'll have many more. But as of today, July 2021, the 20th, we have about 430 episodes, which is absolutely, it boggles my mind. All the great guests, all the levity, laughs, all the inspiration, all the great things we've done together, all the different theme shows, holiday shows. It's been unbelievable. Host, chat, levity, pop-up shows, on location shows we've done, shows without guests where it's just us chatting. Really amazing. If you missed any episodes, all you have to do is look right on our YouTube channel. They are all there. And while you're there, again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you click the notification bell. That's the bell icon next to the red word subscribe. Make sure you click that so that way you're alerted every episode, who's coming on, what we're doing, where we're going to be. We would love if you did that as well. And share it. Share our channel. Let everybody know. Spread the word. Continue to spread the word about the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. It is a very special place. This is on the internet, but we do it like a television show. We don't do it like a podcast. We don't do it like a stream. We do it like a television show in the way that we produce it, the feel and the flavor of it. So spread the word. We would love that. And don't forget to drop a like on our YouTube channel underneath the episode and the video. That would be fantastic. We would love that. And leave a comment on the actual, I know you guys love to comment live during the show, but leave a comment after the show on the actual video, on the episode. We would love that. Another great guest tonight. Juanita says that in South Africa. Thank you very much, Juanita. Good night, everyone. You're very welcome. And Kathleen Walker says, thanks, Jim. Have a great night. Good night, all, and hugs to you too, Kathleen. And Angela's here. Good to see you, Angela. Welcome once again, returning to the Jim Master Show Live. Good night. Thanks for another good one. You're a busy man, Jim. I know. I was on the air all day today, and then tomorrow I'm going to be. It's just a busy time in television and radio land. Christine says, thanks, Jim, for a terrific evening with the very talented Alex Rybeck. Enjoyed the conversation and his music. Tomorrow looks good. Billy Gilman will be great on Thursday. Good night, all. Till next time. Alessandra is in love with our show, and we love that. Good night, everyone. See you all tomorrow night. Thank you very much. I love the relaxing music that Alex shared with us. Thank you, Jim, for a wonderful show. Now you're going to flip over to the NBA game, see if your Suns can pull out a victory and bring it home for Game 7. Good luck. Good luck. I know you're rooting for them. Joan says, thank you for coming to Lovely Hall. Please come back. And Alessandra says, thank you, Alex, and thank you, Jim. You're very welcome. Sherry Larson says, thank you, Jim. My pleasure. Mary Bishop says, good night, everyone, and take care. You as well in FLA, sunny Florida. Alessandra says, I'm here for good. Yeah, Jane said that too. Jane said, I'm going to be here forever for as long as we're doing the show. I appreciate that. You guys are the best. You are truly the lovities on the Jim Masters Show Live. We've got exciting things ahead. We've done exciting things already in over 430 episodes. So stick with us here and tell all your friends. Share the lovity, share the links, tag. Thanks for all of you who've been doing that, all the Instagram messages, the tweets, the private emails, all the other things you guys have been doing. It's duly noted. It's very appreciated, and we love you all for it. If you would like to contact us and maybe you have guest ideas, you can do that by contacting us at jimmasterstv@gmail.com. jimmasterstv@gmail.com is our show's email address. Or if you just want to let us know how much you enjoy our show, sometimes we do read letters on the air as well. Usually during the pop-up shows, we read letters, the gifts that have been sent, and you guys have sent gifts and cookies and all kinds of gifts and letters and beautiful things our way, which we truly appreciate. We have the best audience in the world, and it's really, really beautiful. And as we always say, don't forget to smile, gang. Very important to do that. And don't forget to share our famous lovity. Really important to do that. The world can use more of that. And find your Zen place. We always say this at the end of the show. Mine, of course, is with loving family and friends. That's most important. And then I'm a cyclist. I'm a swimmer. You got to drag me out of the ocean. I love swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it, walking it, sunrise, sunset. We live by the ocean here. I also love tennis and writing and gardening and all kinds of cool things. And my work in television and radio, stage and film over the years, on air, on camera, behind the scenes, another Zen place for me. So find your Zen place. Enjoy it, savor it, and then share it with the world. It's really important to do that. We also do this at the end. We always say, relax, breathe from the diaphragm, love one another, and be sure and love yourself. And everybody is welcome to our show, regardless of political views, zip code, income, height, weight, eye color, waist size, political views, religious views, gender. You're all welcome here because we have a good time on our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation. We'll be back tomorrow night, and we've got a lot of cool things coming up, and we just love having you all here. We also thank our friends at LMG, Lampkin Music Group, for their time and attention. We love them as well, and we thank them very much. And we thank all of you. We'll be back tomorrow night. This will be archived on our YouTube channel, so you can share the link and have a good time if you missed anything and joined us late. All right, gang. Sayonara, ciao, cheers. We don't say goodbye. We just say see you later on the Jim Masters Show Live. So we'll catch you tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun with June, Rachel, and Clara coming back to talk about that new musical. We toast you all. We love you all. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.